Welcome to BVTV Diner, where we serve up stories of extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Our latest customer is visiting us all the way from California, proving that all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. I'm your host, Lazarus Winkelfleck, and today I'm catching up with a BVU alumni who went from student president to working at one of the most prestigious institutions in the country. So grab a seat, maybe a cup of coffee, or even a slice of pie, and let's meet our friend, Alan Maldonado. Back in 2019, Alan Maldonado once roamed the halls as a soccer player, student leader, and homecoming king, and now he's back. Alan returned to BVU, not just to revisit old memories, but to pay it forward, spending time with current BVU students.
I like to think positive of my students and to think that they work hard to succeed. And Alan, I have no trouble saying that of Alan. I don't even have to stretch. He was a great student. He's always conscientious, worked hard, focused on doing quality work and doing it on time.
Currently, Alan works at California Institute of the Arts, where giving back is the heart of his work.
Alan was a bit hesitant to come back. He said, I don't know what I have to offer. He left, he got a job in the workforce, he had struggles like most of us do when we're trying to find a job. Come back, you have a lot to offer just because of who you are. And I shared with him, just tell your story. The students loved his stories. Not because he's a good storyteller, which he is, but because they could see themselves in his story. When he struggled, it was real and it was something that they could envision. His successes gave them hope. After class, after these opportunities, many of them would come up one-to-one and ask him questions. And what do you think about this? And what would you say about this? And what advice would you give me about, I'm graduating next semester or at the end of the semester. What advice would you give? And so they see somebody who's gone before, who once was where they are, and they see in him what they can become.
Students today see firsthand how dedication and perseverance can lead to success across any field, even the arts and philanthropy. Alan reminds us that true success isn't just about achieving your dreams, it's about lifting others along the way. Alan is an extraordinary person with great talents. So Alan, let's start back to the beginning. What was it like growing up in Kansas and then heading to Buena Vista University?
Well, it started back, I was actually born in Mexico. Yes, lived there for 4 years. And then I was in Bakersfield, so Los Angeles, metro outside of it, for a few years. But I ended up in Kansas around the age of 11, I believe, where it was vastly different than California. But at the same time, you get to make some connections with people that are lifelong friends. I still have such a close connection to about 4 people there who I still talk to almost on a regular basis. And so I think Kansas was such a good move for me growing up. Not only did it take me out of my element and kind of requested something different from me as a kid, facing that adversity from going to a new school, new environment, new culture. Nice. And so I think it helped me, and the education was really good, I think, compared to perhaps where I was going. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any key moments that really stuck out to you during this time?
Yeah, in Kansas, going to college, so getting on track to BV, going to college is pretty much an expectation in Kansas. I was in Overland Park area, Olathe, and the suburbs of Kansas City, and that was pretty much an expectation. It wasn't a question on if someone should go, when someone should go. It was pretty much set and go, which was a little bit different from what I had been used to in California. Again, I left when I was a little bit younger. I was going into 7th grade, so I'm not sure if those conversations happened. But going to college for me growing up was always a goal. It wasn't really much of an expectation. It was sort of like, these are my goals in life, I really want to try and be the best person I can be, get to a professional, goal. And for me, the only way forward was getting a higher education. And so that's what propelled me to start searching.
That's really powerful. That's that's incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
So what brought you to rural Iowa then? You have such a diverse, awesome background.
Yeah.
What led you here?
A couple of things. One, a friend.
Nice.
Two, soccer. I wanted to play soccer in college. And I had started looking for my options senior year of high school. And I had a few options in Kansas and California and here at Buena Vista. What eventually drove me though was that I had a friend in high school who had decided to come to Buena Vista because he had family close by in Iowa, and so he thought this was the best decision for him. And he brought me for a campus visit.
Nice.
Yeah. It felt different. It felt different than all the colleges I had been at. People were very welcoming. Faculty who perhaps were not going to even be teaching me took time out of their day to just talk to me about my own goals. And so the experience here was so personal that for me afterwards, I didn't really see much other options. Eventually, I did get my financial aid package here, and it was only a few thousand. I'd say like $1,000, $2,000 better than another school.
Nice.
But when you're looking at your options for college, every penny matters, and so that was the sealer for me, was that I had to come here.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So when you came here, you majored in business and Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Started out psychology. I did about 2-3 months in psychology, and I started out in business. My idea was that I liked interacting with people. I liked getting to know people. I liked getting to know what motivated them, what inspired them. And at the time, there was a field called industry psychology, where you learned how people interact within a company or corporation, and you try to see what motivates them to try and elevate that company up. And so I thought that's really cool. I really want to learn that. And so I started, taking business classes, psychology classes here. And then I believe it was a spring semester, I had to take a gen ed class, humanities. So I said, I need an easy class. I need something that's going to get me the grade and I can move on. So I took Spanish, and I tested into the essay level where I could write and read Spanish. And so I went for it. It was not an easy grade.
Really?
My paper, we had to write an introductory essay. And my paper came back with so many errors, not just grammatically in Spanish, but also in formatting, organization. And so I took this personally. I had never written a piece where it had come back with so many marks on it. And so I decided, you know what, if I'm going to take this class, let me do it in earnest. Let me actually learn everything that I can. And just, move on. The class developed, and I started falling in love with it. I started falling in love with literature. It connected to my upbringing. It connected to new worlds that I had not considered, because although I was born in Mexico, who remembers anything from 4 years old? And,
That's so fair.
Yeah, so to me, it was like this whole new world had opened up with new stories, characters, new history that I had never heard. And to me, that was just so fantastic. And it took me out of being just not in Storm Lake, Buena Vista, but out of this whole, like the nation. It took me to South America, Mexico, Peninsula, Caribbean. With that class, I found that I could explore.
Is that kind of what led you to being like class president eventually, like with the Senate?
No. I liked getting involved in activities at BV. BV offers so many great activities for you to be a part of and for you to make significant work in. I was in Student Senate because I wanted to learn what was going on with decisions that were affecting the student body. and I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to, after 3 years here, I saw a need that people might have. And so I had joined Student Senate with that goal in mind. By the time it was time to be president, nominations, there was a gap.
Oh.
Where there was about maybe 3 candidates. And so I just put my hat in the ring, and I just went for it because I felt that there was so much more that I can do than what my current position allowed me to.
I really like that. That's really inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Is that sort of like the mentality that like sent you off to CalArts basically? Was that the pushing point? Was that you realized you could do more?
CalArts is a little bit tied to that because although a business major, I always wanted to do good with business. I wanted to be able to give back, and I wanted to be able not to raise profits for a corporation, but also be able to raise, different voices that perhaps have not been heard through scholarships. And so for me, fundraising was a way to do that. And so eventually that's what drove me to CalArts. Mm-hmm.
That's so incredible. I heard that you took like some time to like do like an internship in Spain.
Yeah, I loved that internship. It was spur out of the moment. It wasn't really planned. I booked a flight 3 weeks before I left.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, back then they were cheap, the flight tickets. But I went to Seville for about 2 months, where I was able to work for a nonprofit there, helping immigrant people coming into Spain settle down, find a job, be able to help them, by some program needs. And so it was a really great time, and it really developed that I wanted to do Spanish or keep it in my life. Mm-hmm.
Were you able to use some of those Spanish skills as like a medical assistant? Because from like the record, we can tell that you went from medical assistant to Pasadena Symphony to CalArts. Like this, your track record is so impressive. It's so creative. It's inspiring.
Yeah, when you graduate, you're going to apply to so many places, and there's going to be so many rejections, and it just takes one person to say yes to you. Mm-hmm. So you have to continue on, and you have to just keep going. When I got that application, when I got the job for the medical assistant, translator, complex procedure coordinator, I took it because they took a chance on me.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily because I was overly passionate about it, but I needed to get my foot in the industry.
All right.
And it turned into a really good opportunity for me to be able to prove myself. So even though it wasn't my passion, you really need to just go at it and try and drive forward and learn as much as possible.
I don't know a ton about the medical field.
Neither did I. No, no. I took astronomy here because I wanted to avoid biology. Mm-hmm. I'm not a science-minded person. It was very complex to me. Kudos to those who can do it because I just can't wrap my head around it. But what that was a lot of training. The doctors took time to explain to me not only medicine, but medical procedures, why we do it, why this will happen to the body if we do this. And then, of course, there's the words to translate. There's so many words that you have to take back home with you and keep studying even after the day's done because you can't not mistranslate in the medical field.
Oh, yeah.
It would be really bad, not only for the patients, but also for the procedure as a whole and the doctors and the clinic. And so you have to really be accurate. Mm-hmm.
That is quite a jump from someone struggling with like essays to being an actual medical translator.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. Thanks to professors here, they really helped out increase my language proficiency. Not just being able to speak it, but with writing it, organizing it, reading it. I did eventually go to grad school to get a master's in Spanish, Latin American literature. Where I spoke Spanish probably 90% of the time. And so that really helped a lot too. And this was prior to the medical field.
I saw that you did like kind of like an internship with Association of Women Between Worlds. Can you tell me what that looks like and about that?
Yeah, that was the internship that we did.
Was
that
the,
I did.
the Spain
the Spain one, yeah.
That's, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so at the time that I was there, they were trying to build a community center for women in Nigeria. And so they were looking for funds to help build it. My main job there was to translate the documents from Spanish to English so that they can pitch it to other people.
So obviously that's a massive accomplishment to begin with. Do you have any other like key moments that really stuck out to you before you reached CalArts? Like, I mean, obviously the symphony was incredible. How did you land that position?
One guy decided that I was worth investing in. He was the hiring manager for Pasadena Symphony. And it was really just the conversation that we had struck up before the application process, where I reached out and I said, I'm working in the medical field, but I really like nonprofits. I like making a difference. I want to get back to this. Can we have a talk about the position and what that could look like? We had a nice conversation. We had a nice interview process, and I was able to be there. And so this position here really cemented my foundations in nonprofit fundraising, in administration work, but also in looking at fiscal responsibility for universities, what that looks like, because this one supervisor took time out of his day to really teach me on a whiteboard. He said, fundraising is a science, so you need to take this course. And it was his course. He taught me how to fundraise for different scenarios, different places. And so without that, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Like, what was that transition like for you? It
was a huge transition. At the Pasadena Symphony, we have, a core group of people running the symphony administration part of it. You go to CalArts and it's so much bigger. There's one person who handles just this thing. There's another person that handles this thing. It's so when you get there, you just don't know who to reach out to get what you need. Fundraising happens really quickly. It's a really turn the profits in really quick because the opportunity's there. When you're under that pressure because you need to submit this, you need to know who to contact.
Right.
And so that was such a big turn for me, going from Symphony to CalArts, because I did not know people.
I mean, that's like such a networking field mine, though, isn't it?
It is, yes. And so luckily, after you're there for, a year or so, you finally start seeing how things tick. You start knowing, like, I can get this from this person, but this other person can get it faster. Or this person does not like to be emailed, he'd rather just somebody call them. And so you find out these like little nitpicky things about people, and you just learn how to, work with them to accomplish your goal of moving the Institute forward.
That's incredible. You were telling me a little bit earlier about kind of like the mission of CalArts. Can you talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah. CalArts' mission, it's changed a little bit throughout the decades. We celebrated 50 years about 2 years ago. It was founded in 1961, I believe, by Walt Disney through the merger of the Chouinard Art Institute and the Los Angeles Conservatory of Music. So the merger and the creation of CalArts was to create this community of artists. It was to create a higher education platform where students, artists could all interact and create art that would, push the boundary of what was possible.
Yeah.
And so this was the whole idea, the vision of CalArts. Today, we can see the dividends that it has paid, obviously, through the Pixar revolution, which the alumni from CalArts launched. We can see the Disney Renaissance. Our alumni were able to foster in that great era of movies. And so right now, CalArts is in a really great position to keep experimenting with the arts, keep seeing what's out there, and keep seeing what new opportunities can rise and how maybe that will change the American culture, especially in the art section.
So how do you feel like you influence that from your position?
Well, I think I'm a steward of it because in the position that I'm in, I have to maintain the institute's priorities, keep those in mind. I also need to understand that the goals of the university, the institute, where it wants to go, based on strategic goals by the president and the VPs. And so my role is to really look at opportunities, that might come up where certain program can be funded, certain students can get that scholarship, with great artistic merit that otherwise wouldn't be able to attend a prestigious university. And so that's where my job lines in, is being able to secure those funds to make sure that the university can keep going, bringing in talented students and making sure that the goals are met.
Yes, that's honestly so empowering.
Yeah.
I really love how much effort you obviously put towards this. You're obviously someone who cares a lot. What's your favorite moment from this?
Yeah. I think I care a lot about it because I was those students, right? I first generation college student. I did not know how to fill out a FAFSA. I had to go to a friend's mom to figure out how to do that. I understand what it's like to see this huge mountain of expenses right in front of you and just not know how to begin climbing. And so that's for me why I relate and why I'm very passionate about it, is because I was there. And I know what it feels like now to be at the top, to overcome that mountain, and be able to see that I put in all this effort and now here are a few rewarding things that I can get from it.
So speaking of rewarding things, I've heard you've had some brushes of greatness in your time. Do you want to talk about that? Maybe Jack Black, I've heard.
No, yes, Jack Black is a friend of CalArts. His wife went to CalArts as an alum.
Whoa.
And her dad, so Jack Black's father-in-law, founded our jazz program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so Jack Black is a great friend of CalArts, and they support us when they can, and they just really like the arts, and they really like elevating students, making sure that they have the tools necessary to succeed. So, yeah,
that's
great
so
people.
Beautiful. I've also heard you've had a global Golden Globe partnership. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've had a long history and partnership with the Golden Globes. It is over 30 years that we've had this relationship with them, where they're able to provide scholarships for students in our School of Film Video to be able to pursue the artistic endeavors that they might have, either film, live action, or animation, experimental animation, slow motion. Yeah. So they're great supporters of that. And so I'm happy to be in a position where I can help manage this relationship and make sure it continues, because it was handed over to me by our predecessors. And so me and my supervisor were very lucky to be able to do this.
What about Clark Spencer? I've heard a little bit about him.
Yeah, Clark Spencer, he's the president of Walt Disney Animation. Yeah, so Clark is also a really good friend of CalArts. Obviously, the institute being founded by Walt Disney means that we do have a close partnership with Walt Disney, and so we're very happy to have him as part of our Friends Board of Trustees. And so he really does care about the students. He really does try to do the best that he can by providing them opportunities to be able to interact with the company and see that they're there. And so I was very lucky to have met him. And so during a visit to the animation studios.
Nice.
Yeah, incredible building. It's really nice. And so, yeah, he's a really great guy.
Do you have any personal run-ins with Walt Disney while your time at CalArts?
So CalArts is one big building. It's about 4 floors. The reason why is because Walt Disney wanted all the majors to interact, all the artists to be able to mingle and create new art. And so, no, it's a maze there, but there's no Walt Disney Frozen there. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite memories, with these brushes of greatness? Yeah,
it's inspiring to hear what they have to say too. we get great interactions with the animators who are working on projects right now for Disney. During, you know, the production of Moana 2, we were able to talk to some animators that were there. And so an advice that he told Clark Spencer and some advice that we also got from the animators is that no matter what you do in life, always try to lead with kindness. And so I think that really spoke about the way to approach life in any circumstance, no matter how difficult things get, no matter how difficult a person might be, always step forward with kindness and try to do your best to be a good person.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
But like, speaking of projects, right? Do you have any that you want to like share with us that CalArts might be currently working on or working towards even? We're
really looking into how technology can be incorporated more into the arts. I think we've gotten to a point in a society where we can't ignore that AI and different advances in technology will probably be, you know, intertwined with art. The question is how much of it do we want technology to be incorporated, how we want to incorporate it, and probably what approach do we want to take with it. Because we cannot do it just for the sake of doing it. It has to be really thought about. And so CalArts right now is in that state where we're trying to interpret what we want to do with technology, how do we can interact art with it, and what's the best way forward. And, you know, I think there's no better place than CalArts to do that as a leading art institute.
What are some of your guys' like programs sort of like look like if you were to like implement something like that?
Well, technology can be implemented anywhere. For example, in the past, we've looked at the School of Music, who has looked into incorporating robotics into making music, because a robot can beat a drum faster than any human can. It can reach more keyboards than a human can. And so we're looking at this where a robot can play live in time with a person to see what art can be formed in this interaction between an AI and a real artist, right? We've seen it in the School of Art, where a student constructed a big tube labyrinth. He put ants inside those tubes, connected it to sensors that triggered a splash of paint or triggered a note on a music sheet. And so that work of art was literally done by ants. And so this is the type of technology and art mixing that we're looking into. And so it can be incorporated really into any of the 5 areas that we have: critical studies, music, theater, dance, film, video.
Do you have any like words of advice for aspiring students in leadership?
Yeah, accept that things are going to be difficult, but that doesn't mean that you should not be optimistic. Go into whatever endeavor you have. If you want to do something in life, go at it with optimism. Go at it knowing it's probably going to take some work. And then also take care of yourself. You don't need to push yourself every single day. You know, perhaps your best looks different one day compared to the other, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you're not good enough anymore. You've proven yourself to be good enough here at BV through your everyday actions. All you need to do is keep fostering that relationship with yourself, be kind to yourself, keep pushing, and don't say no to opportunities.
Thank you so much for your time here. Thank you so much for these words of wisdom and advice. It has been such an honor having you on the show. A BVU graduate that made it big at CalArts and in life. A man who's had the pleasure of meeting both Jack Black and Clark Spencer, being a medical assistant to working at the Pasadena Symphony, plus serving the Association of Women Between Worlds on a 2-month-long internship. Thanks again for joining us at BVTV Diner. Stay golden and goodbye.